Good evening. Hello, everyone. Thank you for showing up and coming to work with us tonight. My name is Linda, and I'm one of the trainers at Feeder Supply. So tonight we have several topics that we're going to cover, but there is a bonus for being here tonight. If you stay tuned to the very end, you'll have a chance to win one of these great treat pouches and some training treats. There'll be a drawing, and there'll be 5 winners, which will be, the drawing will actually be tomorrow. So stay tuned to the end to find out how to do that. So the first thing we want to talk about tonight is, I think especially right after Christmas, is really a very good topic, is basic puppy training skills. The first thing we need to think about is the puppies, what we call their primary learning period, which starts at about 4 weeks and closes at about 18 weeks when they have different neural connectors in their brain and they learn in a different way. So this primary time is the best time to teach all those behaviors that you want, like sit, down, stay, come, walking politely on a leash, leave it, anything that you might want to train. The earlier you train it, the better you are. Years ago, we used to think dogs couldn't learn until they're 6 months, but now we know they start learning at 4 weeks as soon as their eyes and ears open. So early socialization is important. Decide right away when you bring your puppy home what you want them to do when they're a grown-up dog. You may not care if a little lab puppy jumps up on your couch, but you might not want a 75-pound lab jumping up on your couch. So if you don't want a big dog on your couch, don't let them start. So decide what behaviors you want and what you don't want, and start that from the very first day they walk in the door. So we want to talk about also leash training, which is one of the hardest things to teach a dog to walk on a leash without pulling. And we often get frustrated, but it's so easy to start early and to teach them the way you want them to walk on a leash. People ask me, why does my dog pull me down the street? There's only one answer. It's because you follow along behind them. If you'd quit moving when they're pulling and stand still, wait for them to come back to you, and then reset and start again. Another technique is to change directions. So if you're walking down the street and they get in front of you, turn around and go the other way. Make leash walking interesting. Don't just walk in a straight line and take the same walk every day. Make it more exciting and fun for your dog, and reward the good behavior. So when they're walking nicely, let them know. When they're not walking the way you want, stop and reset. So the next thing that's so important about puppies is potty training. And that can get really frustrating when they have accidents in the house, especially if it's on your brand new carpeting or your brand new oriental rug. It's just difficult to enjoy a puppy when they're making these accidents all the time. So how do you get a puppy trained? Well, we need to understand that a puppy's muscles are not developed really well to hold the urine in their bladder and their feces in, and because they're so little, those muscles are not strong yet. So they can't hold it for very long. So you must realize that puppies probably, during the day when they're active, need to go out every hour to hour and a half. As they age and get stronger, you can stretch that time out. The best way that I find to be more reliable with your puppy training, your potty training, is to put a sheet of paper on the bulletin board, also called the refrigerator door, and mark down when they went out, who took them, whether they went or not. You also need to write down the time that they ate, because dogs will tell you they usually develop a certain amount of time after they eat before they need to go potty. So, excuse me, document when they go, who did it. Also document when they have accidents and where it happened. That'll give you a really nice pattern on how you're proceeding with your potty training. When a puppy has even one accident in the house, that undoes all the training you have done for that whole day. So it's really important that you try to not have any accidents at all. Some people like to potty train on puppy pads in the house. But remember, when you do that, as they get older, if you want them to go outside, you need to have a plan on how to transition them from using a puppy pad to using the backyard. It's best when you take them out in the yard that you stand in one spot. Don't walk around. Let them sniff in that one spot, get bored with it, and then finally get around to doing their business instead of being curious about all the stuff that's in the yard. So really document, stand in one place, and feed at regular intervals. Treat training. I have a little one here that's going to help me show you about treat training. This is little Miss Luna. And Luna loves to train and she loves to work. When I'm teaching Luna a brand new behavior, she gets a treat every time she does it. Come on, Luna, back this way. If it's a behavior she knows already and is pretty good at, she doesn't get a treat every time she does it. Luna, can you sit? Good sit. Good girl. Okay, she did not get a treat. Sit is something she knows and doesn't get rewarded for it every time. But say I was out walking and a bus went by and I asked for a treat, a sit, and that was a really difficult situation. If she sat in that situation, I would probably reward that with a treat. You can always use verbal praise, and I use verbal praise with the treat, and then I fade or get rid of the treat after a period of time. When you're training a new behavior, you should start fading the treats after about 2 days of working on that behavior. I hope that helps with treat training. Also, gauge your size of your treat to the size of your dog. Luna is little, and let me tell you, this is a big treat for Luna. I normally would break that in half because she's a little dog. You also need to remember that treats have calories. So take into consideration how many calories they're getting in treats when you measure out their food for their meals. Treats should only take about 10% of their total calorie intake per day. Okay, Luna, can you do something really nice? Huh? Can you spin? Okay, good job. Thank you. Okay, I hope that helps with your treat training, because I get so many people that call me and say, my dog won't do anything unless I have a treat in my hand. And that's because they always are giving treats for the same behaviors over and over. Positive reinforcement. I started training dogs back in the 50s and 60s. And back then we trained in a very different way. And we used a lot of correction and punishment to get the behaviors that we wanted. But I soon discovered that it really hurt my relationship with my dog. They got to the point where if I walked towards them with my hand out, they would back away. And I realized that by doing punishments and smacking and all of that, pulling on the leash, yanking on their collar, that I was really destroying their trust in me and our relationship. So positive reinforcement, we know it works. We know it works because it works with all those killer whales in marine land. And that's how we first started realizing that you don't have to correct behaviors, that it's better to reward the good behaviors than it is to correct the behaviors we don't like, or what we might call bad behaviors. So understand that you want to have a good relationship with your dog. You want them to trust you. You certainly don't want them to be afraid of you. The other thing to think about with punishment is, and this is a fallout from a lot of punishment, especially with choke chains and prong collars. Whatever they're looking at when they get the correction, they associate with pain. So say your dog is barking at a little kid, and so you yank on the leash and you jerk on their neck. They feel pain while they're looking at a child. That imprints upon them that children are bad and dangerous and cause pain. So the punishment, whatever they're associated with while they're getting punished, they will have that negative connection with that thing. So just take that into mind. Keep that in mind. Socializing. People think that socializing means just taking your dog to the dog park and letting them run willy-nilly in the dog park and have a good time. And that is a type of socialization, but it's not totally socialization. You also might think that if you have another dog in the house, that your dog is socialized because they're around another dog all day. Being around a family pet, another family pet is not socialization. Being around family members is not socializing them to people, because that's part of their family. So socialization really means exposing your dog to something new where you have a positive outcome. So when say you take your dog to the park and you want them to jump over a stick, be sure that when they jump over their stick, they're not jumping into a mud puddle, so that they're not having a negative relationship with jumping over the stick. The same way with socializing them to people. So you're walking down the street with your dog and someone approaches and they want to pet your dog, but your dog backs away because they don't know that person and they're a little bit frightened. So what should you do in a situation like that? You ask the person to just stand still and wait and let your dog approach them. Once your dog approaches them and you can see that their body posture is soft and they have a nice slow tail wag, then you can tell them it's okay to pet, or you can even hand them a treat and let them give your dog a treat. Because now your dog's learning something new. They're learning that that particular person is not scary or frightening or dangerous. The same way with introducing them to bathing. You want to take it slow. The first time I bathe my dog, or the first time when I start getting them ready to be bathed, I put them in the bathtub, but there's nothing in it. There, no water, no washcloth, no anything, and I just feed them a few cookies and then let them out. I gradually will have them in there with the water running, but not on them. And you slowly socialize them and acclimate them to that new environment. And it can be that way with getting in your car. It can be that way with walking on sand. Anything that's new, don't force them to do it if they're reluctant. Let them do it at their own speed. That is what real socialization is about. The importance and consistency with training. Most people think they're going to train their dog, but they're not doing it on a regular basis. It's hit or miss. They might get trained on Saturday and then not again for 2 weeks. And then they wonder why the dog's not learning. It's also hard to put yourself on a regular schedule to train your dog without some kind of impetus. That's why I like for people, especially with new dogs, to go through at least one session of dog training classes, because you have to go on a regular basis. You're given homework, you have things you need to do, and it gets you into the habit of training your dog. Training sessions should normally be short. 5 minutes is a good amount of time to train. So it's better to train 6 5-minute sessions in a day than to try to do 1 30-minute. And let's face it, if you're a person that still watches TV that has commercials, you can just train during the commercials, and that would give you plenty of time to train your dog. If you don't train on a regular basis, they might learn something really well, and then if you don't back that up and keep working on it, they forget it, just like we do. So you have to, training is ongoing. It'll be going on through their whole lives. You're always teaching them something, and they're always learning something. So remember, regular basis, short training sessions, multiple training sessions throughout the day. Have a good time. It should be fun for both you and your pet. So when we talk I want to talk a little bit more about the basic puppy skills, because puppies bring a whole bunch of issues and problems with them. I like to take my puppies to the vet when they just go in and get cookies and then go home and nothing happens to them. That's another form of socialization. You're making a positive relationship between the puppy and the veterinarian. They also have been known to chew things up. So be sure that when you get a puppy and you bring it into the house, just as you would if you were bringing a baby into the house, you have to puppy-proof your house. If you have children that leave things around, you're getting a bonus, because you can train the children now to put their things up so the puppy doesn't chew it up. I have found that most people that have both children and puppies, the first time the puppy chews up a toy or whatever, if the parent says to them, well, if you had put it away, that wouldn't have happened. And it helps their children to learn to put their things up. If your puppy is getting into trouble all the time, then you might need to limit the space that they can be in. They have to earn the privilege to get in the whole house. You might start them out in 1 or 2 rooms, and then gradually, as their skills improve, you can let them be exposed to and use the other parts of the house. So don't give them too much freedom too soon. So do we have questions?
Ten-week-old lab fighting a lot.
10-week-old lab that's mouthing,
Fighting.
biting. Well, let's remember that what labs were bred to do. Labs were bred to carry things in their mouth. And puppies are teething and their gums hurt. The way they don't have hands, so their way of exploring things is using their mouth. So how do you get them to quit chewing on things that are inappropriate? First of all, you want to be sure that you give them plenty of appropriate things to chew on. Chew toys that are not too hard but not too soft, that offer chewing resistance that meets their need for chewing. Dogs relieve stress by chewing, so that they have to have a chewing outlet, and preferably it's not on your arms. A lot of puppies will start to bite and mouth when you're playing with them. At first, when you're petting and playing with them, they're fine, but after a while they start getting more excited and then they start mouthing and biting. So the way to fix that is to stop playing with them before they get to that level of stimulation. And you can tell because they'll start moving quicker, their tail wags faster, they get a little jumpier, and you can tell they're getting excited. That's when you stop the playtime, give them a little short time out to calm down, and then start playing again. I hope that answered your question.
How do you get an 8-week-old puppy to use a pad?
At first, you may need, puppies always have to really go bad when they first get up in the mornings or in the middle of the night when they wake up and need to go potty. I like to pick them up and take them to the pee pad. Sometimes if you walk them to the pee pad, they can't hold it that long and they'll have an accident. The other thing you can do is when they do have an accident, be sure that you have that scent on the puppy pad. Some puppy pads come already pre-scented that lures your puppy to that pee pad. But the main thing is to use your leash or to pick your puppy up, place them on the puppy pad. If you're not sure they need to potty, I'd have them on a leash and keep them on the puppy pad for 1 minute or so until they see if they'll squat. If they don't, then I would either put them back in the crate for a few minutes, or I would watch them carefully to make sure they don't wander off and have an accident. When you're playing with a puppy, if they all of a sudden wander off, they're engaged with you and they're playing and they're bouncing around, they're being really cute, and then all of a sudden they turn around and walk off. When they do that, that's a signal they need to pee. So if they turn around and try to walk off, pick them up, put them on the pee pad.
Someone said, how to stop our pup from digging in the yard?
Normally that comes from digging. Has several reasons. Boredom is one. Sometimes in the hot weather, which we're not having now, they do it to find a cooler place to lay down. The other thing is they may hear something under the ground that they're trying to get to, like a mole or a vole, and they hear that and they're digging to get to it. But for puppies, most of the time it's boredom. So that means they might be spending too much time in the backyard that when they're not engaged with play or with someone. So be sure you monitor how long they're in the yard. If you find them digging, I would just pick them up or put them on a leash, walk them away. If you fuss at them, they're not going to understand why you're fussing. Dogs live in the moment. So if it's already been 4 seconds since they were digging, they forget that that's why they're being fussed at. But the main thing is, don't leave them out in the yard for long periods of time unsupervised.
Julie is asking, our 14-week-old pup is putting his paws on the counters and table and getting on our couches. How do we stop this behavior?
People forget you can use a leash inside the house. I would have him on a leash, and I would also, he needs to have a place in the room where he's supposed to go, a bed or a mat or a crate or whatever, and make sure that he goes to that place. If he jumps on the couch, use the leash, remove him from the couch, put him where he's supposed to be. When he gets on the mat where he's supposed to be, you can reward him with a treat or verbal praise or both. On the counter, once again, teach him where he's supposed to be in the kitchen. Have a mat or a bed that he's only supposed to be in. And when you're in the kitchen, send him to that place. You can also be careful about not leaving things out where he can get to them. But once again, correcting it or punishing it or pushing them off isn't really teaching them anything. You can't really teach a dog to not do something. You teach them to do a behavior that makes the other behavior impossible. So if he knows he's supposed to be on his bed when he's in the kitchen, he can't be in his bed and on the counter at the same time. Does it take time to do that? Yes. But in the long run, it's worth it. I think of training as a deferred payment plan. You put in all the work now, and you get the rewards back later by having a dog that's wonderful to be around, that you can take places, that doesn't have to be put up when company comes over, that can go on vacation with you, and just be a joy instead of an aggravation.
Stephanie says, I have a soon-to-be 6-week-old Yorkie coming home soon. I want her to come with me to my treatments and doctor's appointments. Should I start taking her with me so she knows her job?
No, not at 6 weeks. Number one, she's not fully immunized at 6 weeks. She hasn't had at least 2 rounds of puppy shots, and it's really unsafe for her. Plus, remember, a puppy's attention span is like 2 nanoseconds. So if you're trying to take them to a doctor's appointment, which can last an hour and a half, or God forbid, 3 hours, you're pushing your puppy past its ability to cope. And you'll end up turning them against it instead of making them like it. So start out with short sessions. Like I said, go to the doctor's office when you don't actually have an appointment. Just sit in the waiting room for a minute, if your doctor allows that. Not all doctors do. Stay for about 3 or 4 minutes and leave, so that you slowly get her acclimated to doing those types of visits.
How can I get my Maltipoo to sit?
Bring Luna in. You can use a food lure, and when you use a food lure, I'll trade you. You want to move it so that it forces the dog to put its rear end down. So you want to keep it close to their nose and move it back so that when their head goes up, their butt goes down. Sit. Can you sit? There you go. So you want to take that treat and move it this way. And eventually that will become your hand signal for sit. So if you wanted to cue the sit, Luna, can you sit? We're going to be silly tonight. Sit. That's a good girl. That hand signal becomes, they learn that means sit as well as your verbal cue. So that will hopefully help. The other thing you can do is dogs do sit on their own. So when you catch her sitting, say the word sit and give her a reward. So that's called capturing a behavior. What I don't recommend is that you push down on their hips, because that can cause injury. A lot of people do that, but especially in young pups, that their growth plates are still open, that can cause real physical damage. So lure, capture. The other one where you actually put them is called modeling. I don't recommend modeling for teaching sit. Okay, good girl. Right here. Go on. No. There we go. Go. There we are.
How do I stop my dog from running out the door?
Oh, that's a good one. And it's a real safety measure. The way I teach that is I have my dog on a leash, because that's my safety net, and I put him in a sit or tell him to wait, stay, whatever they know. Most dogs know sit. Open the door, a crack. If they break their sit, close the door. Put them back in their sit. Open the door. If they break their sit, close the door. And you keep doing that until when you open the door, they remain seated. Then you can add a cue that means it's okay to go out the door. I just use the word go, and they run out the door. But they have to learn, because that can be really dangerous. If you're getting a package and they dart out the front door, they could be hit by a car. So I like to teach them to wait until I tell them to go before they can go out the door. Okay. So a couple of things we want to remember about the treat pouches. We've got 5 of them, and a bag of training treats. These wonderful training treats, which are tiny and only have 3 calories. So you can use quite a few of those and not make your dog get overweight. You must respond to do this on Facebook. The drawing will be tomorrow, and there will be 5 winners, is what I understand. And also, I do want to remind everyone that all of the feeder supply stores do have training classes. Our session for the January session is just starting. We normally have sessions that start every other month. You can check the webpage for that information. All of our trainers are great. Okay, the word win. Win now to enter. So win, win, win. Win now to enter. Okay, good job. And you will be notified. You do need to leave your mailing address to claim the prize. So, as I said, the winners will be selected tomorrow. So if you don't hear anything tonight, that doesn't mean you didn't win.
And all you have to do is comment win, W-I-N, to be entered. So go ahead and comment win now if you would like to win the Intuition treat pouch and the Intuition training treats.
On the training treats,
Yeah,
click on the comment, and then type in the word win, and don't forget to hit the send button. So click on comment, type in the word W-I-N, and then send. And then your chances will be good. So get that information in so that you can be one of the wonderful winners. Here we go. I like it because I really like this bag, by the way, because it fits on your waist. For most of us ladies like that, but it also has a clip that goes on the belt that guys usually like, but some women do too. It has a wonderful place that's big enough to put your cell phone in, and then my favorite part, it has a place for your, excuse my French, poop bags. And it actually allows you to pull them out, so you can put the whole roll in there and pull them out one at a time. Then you have the place for your treats. So it's just everything you need if you're going to be working with your dog. And especially if you're going out in public, don't forget those baggies. Okay. Thank you all very much. It's been a lot of fun talking to you tonight. Okay. Like I said, just really and truly, they're really nice, and they're washable too. And I love it because it closes up completely so you don't spill your treats in the middle of the floor and have your dogs going crazy nibbling up all the treats. So it's a really nice piece of equipment. Okay. Thank you all.